And we're back, week 7. How are we feeling?
Great, great. Week 7 was developing an app in Base 44,
Mhm.
which is a platform that enables you to create apps and websites by entering prompts in natural language. So that's called vibe coding, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I would like to mention that while my brother is still in San Francisco, he was living with some guy that uh, that's a developer. He pretty much makes apps in Base 44
Really
and lives off of that currently.
interesting.
Yeah. So that's a real thing. You can really create something valuable on there and then monetize it. Like further down the line, there are people doing this. This particular guy that I'm talking about is 19 years old. So quite impressive. Yeah, just a note that the capabilities here are very much a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Base 44 allows you to get like prototypes of apps very quickly and very cheaply. So it allows you to have a proof of concept before you invest, further money and time into developing something.
Yeah. What are your impressions? Like first impressions after using it for like a week or however long.
I thought Base 44 was great. I basically, I had an idea for a budgeting app. I mean, I haven't looked at other budgeting apps. So I don't know what else is out there, but I figured I'll come up with my idea of what I think is ideal. And I just punched it in. I actually had Gemini help me create the prompts for Base 44, and it worked out pretty well. So I would kind of like talk to Gemini and say, in kind of broken, not well articulated English about what I was thinking, and it was able to help me organize my thoughts a little bit better so that when I put it into Base 44, it was more coherent and Base 44 was able to better create output. That was
Mm-hmm.
easy.
Mm-hmm.
And about
Absolutely,
you?
absolutely. You can do something like that. That's very much legal. You can use other LLMs to help you prompt base 44 for better output. Uh, I also do it myself. Not that complicated. So, do we want to jump in or say what our apps are about? I think we can just show them and talk about them while they are on the screen.
Yeah, yeah. Did you send me your app?
I need to. Can I can I
I think you
send
could
the link
just,
like that?
if you publish the app and then you send me like the link of the published app, I could just view it on my computer screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want on the chat?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Actually, that's probably easier. All right,
let's
I'll
see.
take a look at this one first. I should probably screen record actually while we're doing this. Um, Screen share, voice of self. Share that. All right. So
Okay. Are you here? Where are we? Okay, here we are. So,
I'm back.
the Voice of Self app, as I called it, is a personal growth and reflection platform designed to help users track their emotional well-being, gain insights from content, which is content. The base content is voice journaling, and sort of celebrate personal achievements. So let's focus on the first functionality, which would be the voice journaling. You just click the microphone and you record a journaling note, which I've been doing journaling for quite a long time in a traditional form.
Hmm.
But I figured for me, uh, especially being able to speak my mind is it's kind of easier, and there's less hassle around it. You just click the microphone button and you speak about what's on your mind. There are some prompts being displayed over the microphone button which are sort of cringe, but we can
Those are great.
work on them later. So
Hmm.
let's go to feed. That's where your recordings would be captured with uh, a little summary and some emotional states that uh, that the AI identified in your message, in your voice. So that's a storage just for your journaling. It serves kind of as a mm, as pages in your journal. So that's it. Not much interesting stuff here.
Hmm.
However, there are insights. Then
Yeah,
there are insights.
this is great.
Is
I
it?
wonder if it has any. I think it's awesome. Yeah, let me see if I can.
There is nothing there. Don't
I
worry.
don't
There is nothing there.
know.
No, no, it's front end only. I have one functionality built in the back end also. For
Mhm.
now, I'll probably tell you about it when we go through it. So there is insights. Go to yeah. So insights are a display in the in 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 a like visually nice form, I guess, of the stuff that has been identified in your voice message. If you click any of those, you can see what recording does it refer to.
Mhm.
Yeah, something like that. And there are stresses, wins, and themes. I want to do something like positive, negative, and balanced here.
Mhm.
So that's the idea between the idea here. Um, yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty much what it's about. Trails are a different functionality entirely. So I identified a problem with me consuming a lot of content either in a written form of books or podcasts, listening to podcasts, and I wanted to find a way to improve my recall of whatever I've read.
Mhm.
So the idea here is that while you're reading a book, after like half an hour or whatever you feel like, you turn on the new insight button. Uh, oh yeah, but it doesn't. Okay, so you turn on the new insight button, and you tell what what have you read about
Mhm.
to summarize it. And after the whole book is done, is the whole book is read, you'd get a summary based on whatever you've uh, whatever you've put in here. And that's what I have kind of built uh, in NADN as like a workflow that grabs your recordings and then transforms them into a coherent article. Here the options are, I don't want to say endless, but
Mhm.
I would love some insight on what would be the best way to whether the app should like create flashcards, create whatever for just to improve recall. Yeah, relics. Let's go to relics. So relics are a section where I was thinking about uh, the the fact that there should be a place where you can store your wins in a form of first being worried about something, then overcoming whatever came up, and storing it in a form of like simple notes that, bro, you've been there before, and you managed uh, to go through that successfully, whether it was like a presentation, whether it was a negotiation with your boss, something like that. A nice folder is quite cringe for now, but it, the idea behind it is to create a space where you can put anything positive that you've encountered during your fucking existence or whatever. You can put some nice photos, nice quotes, comments, grades, moments, compliments, voice notes. Uh, yes. Yes.
Happy.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
personal thoughts. I guess I don't have anything else to say. How do I uh, trying to? I think probably the sticky footer is getting in the way of it. It's probably better on the phone.
Yeah,
You know,
it is. It is better on the phone. Yeah, it's made as a phone. Okay. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. There is the growth. The growth. The growth section, which I'm like totally uh, um, not sure about. I just didn't read, because the first version, in the first version, it was like recommending you goals and stuff like that, very simple stuff. In this version, it was I wanted to kind of normalize the mm, the your life being cyclical, and the fact that uh, you have different periods for different things. I wanted to create something around yeah, there is mental fitness, not mental health. I really like this notion of referring to your well-being as mental fitness, not mental health. So I really wanted to incorporate that somehow here. But yeah, yeah, that's it pretty much. Mm,
dude, I love this app. I think this is fantastic. I would for sure use this.
yeah, you think so?
100%, dude. This is great. It allows you to input and organize like your days and like the things that you learn. And I don't. It's
Yeah,
great. I think it's great. It focuses on it more so focuses on the positives, which I think is a good thing. But it also shows you, where your stresses are coming from, and it helps you maybe find the root cause of those, which I think is cool. I think that's really
yeah,
awesome, and especially
yeah,
the trails section, like kind of organizing the content that you consume, and um, I guess determining like what themes you learn from them. I think that's awesome, 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 awesome stuff.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, thanks. I've shared it with like a couple of people, and the feedback has been really nice. So I'm just glad about.
Excellent.
Yeah.
He's gonna put my app to shame. I only you have looks like 6 different sections in your website. I have only 2.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But we didn't invent any constraints in that regard. So it's
yeah,
if you went to it's fine. I think 6 is a lot. I'll probably need to somehow constrain it to like maybe 4, something like that. Probably
yeah.
4 would be perfect. 6 is a bit much. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Let's skip.
Should we should we get into mine?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Let's see which app gets this one. Okay. Let me screen share. See spend. All right. So here is my app. It's a basic budgeting app. Oh wait, hold up. This isn't updated, is it? Yeah, here it is. So basic budgeting app, little donut chart showing you how much budget you have. Different categories of spending. It shows you like how much you spent and how much of that total budget there is for each category. You can connect your bank using Plaid. So basically, every time you spend money through your credit card, it will go to this app through Plaid and be recorded. So down here, it'll say, you spent December 13th, you spent $45.50 at Olive Garden, and that goes into your food and dining section. And it basically shows you, how much of your total budget you spent. Basically just a way to keep track of your finances. You can also set different budgets for each category. You can make new categories. So right now we have food and dining, housing and rent, transportation, entertainment, social, and shopping. But we can make a new one. For example, let's say, I don't know, let me think. Gifts. We'll make that pink, add category. So now we have a category for gifts, and we can manually input new spending. Where is it? Is it up here? CBS. Oh yeah, and you could also import different files to like from Venmo or whatever, and it'll organize it in here. There should be where is it? Gifts. I guess maybe you can't yet, but I guess I will fix that so you can manually input different spending. And then you also have a history tab, so it shows you what you spent over, the months on a 6-month scale. So it shows you over here, you spent $224 on food and dining, $0 on rent this month, $55 in transportation, so on. And it also gives you some spending insights and trends. So like food and dining is stable over the 3-month average. Housing and rent is down 100% compared to your 3-month average. So yeah, that's basically
down 100%. You've been evicted.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're on the streets now. And then there's different categories, so you can like see what your spending is for rent over the past 6 months, or for transportation over the past 6 months, or a combination of whatever. But yeah, that's essentially it. Just a pretty basic budgeting app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's very nice. Obviously, I would just wonder how much of it is already available in your bank app. How much of how like many of those functionalities do you already have? Because I know I have something in that direction in my bank app. I'll just wonder what's it like for you.
So I use Capital One for my banking app, and the only thing that you can see is just your spend. You can't really set budgets, or maybe you can, but I haven't seen it. It doesn't break down spend by category, and also with like if you spend cash or something, you're not going to see that on your in your banking app, or if you spend through Venmo, you might see a transaction or money being taken out of your account, but it doesn't classify it as anything.
Okay.
So there are no categories.
Yeah, because I for sure have this categorization filter, categorizing your expenses into like transportation, entertainment, and all that.
What app do you use?
It's mBank. It's just the bank app. of the bank I have my account in.
Interesting.
Uh, but yeah, nice. Now that I think about it, on some at some class in uni, we were thinking about uh, I think improvements for bank apps, but only for a specific group of customers. And what we found and what people really liked were how do I explain it now? Those are some kind of interactive uh, saving spaces where after you save a certain amount, there is like a piggy bank, and it starts smiling as you get towards those higher and higher levels of spending or something. Some not even gamification, because gamification is probably too much when you're playing with money and actual bank apps. However, those kinds of interactive spaces, uh, and I don't know where I was going. I just wanted to share that people really like that in terms of like budgeting and banking. And
Absolutely.
in
I think
that,
that gamification is like very it's very useful in terms of like finance and budgeting. It makes you feel like you can really make a difference and kind of have fun with it. It allows you to have autonomy, I think.
yeah,
So,
it's important because as we think about those kinds of ideas, I may even be able to find right now in Google Gemini a screenshot of the like the desktop that we came up with. Yeah, let me just show you that. So it will be in Polish, but also it doesn't really make much of a difference. So that's are we here?
yeah.
Do you see it?
Oh, that
Okay.
looks fun.
So that's for children. That's a version for children, but that's what I was talking about. That even for people our age, something that just more fun, interactive when you're saving money, which let's be real, the act of saving money it's not the most like captivating thing in the world as you're trying to save anything. So that was the idea. You may need to think about implementing it in your app.
Mhm.
This kind of interactive piggy bank. Okay. Let's
Was that
see.
made using Base 44?
That was just no. That's just something I've generated with Gemini.
Oh, just like an image.
Yeah, just an image, just a static image. No interactive things at all. Although Base 44 would be very good for implementing that, I
I'm sure
think.
you could just upload a screenshot of that and tell it to make an
Yeah,
app based on that.
yeah. Absolutely. That's where the fun is. Absolutely. Give it a screenshot ready and make it do the work.
Yeah, seriously,
And all
dude.
that.
That's fantastic, dude. Gamifying finance is really cool because people put tons of effort into like stupid mobile games, and it dictates how they actually spend time in real life. So if you're able to gamify your money, then people will start acting differently in real life to ensure that their app is, I don't know, performing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are some areas where this gamification came about, and it really like caught fire. It really improved stuff. I think Duolingo is like the best example of gamification
Yeah.
implementation in a real life. But as we are on that subject, let me ask you about something that's pretty connected to all that in the subject of gamifying your finances. So lately I think there's been some, oh, I don't want to call it drama, but there's been this. Do you know Kalshi? What's Kalshi?
That's the like the gambling app, right?
The gambling app, yeah, the gambling app where you can bet on real life events like uh, political races and uh, probably fucking weather or whatever. You can bet on like everything that will from like political events to weather. So there's been a gamification factor involved in that. I don't know if it's too connected, but you got any thoughts on that on gamifying and turning everything into gambling?
I think gambling is generally a bad thing, but there's no getting around it. Gambling is everywhere. I mean, you gamble in the stock market. You throw money into an
Not
S&P
me.
fund. Yeah. Well, like people in general. Like even if you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you're hedging your bets, like throwing your money into like an index fund or something, you bet that the entire market is going to go up, which is generally a safe bet. But at the end of the day, you're still gambling because there are macro factors that affect everything, and you don't know how things are going to turn out. That said, I think that um, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, we take bets every day. Like I got in my car this morning to go to work, and I'm betting that I'm not going to get into a car accident, and I'm betting that going into work is going to pay off. Um, I think that betting on random events it's it's a normal thing, but I don't think that it should be super accessible, especially dealing with kids or teenagers. Like I was talking to um, these kids at a Christmas party that I was at yesterday, and they were telling me that their high school had like a really bad gambling problem. It's an all boys school, and basically like everyone in school has a gambling addiction. And I mean, it's what can you do about that? Make it less accessible? Mm,
You can't make less accessible.
yeah, but uh, I mean, I don't really know where I stand on that because at the end of the day, betting on things is human nature. Um, so it makes sense that if you make a bet, you have something to gain and something to lose. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. mm, so in my opinion, mm, I don't. I'm not really into gambling. My adventure with any gambling that I would maybe be involved in, that would be sports gambling, ended in me being quite sure about how free fights from the UFC card are gonna play out, and being absolutely fucking wrong about each and every one of them. When I was really sure that my superior knowledge would make me, um, yeah, would enable me to win those bets. So I was like, okay, not for me, quit that.
Yeah.
At my uni, there's a lot of people that are heavily into gambling. Like they've got tens of thousands of dollars being spent on those gambling apps. Those will be sports, but they are going to casino quite regularly. Mm, that's not my thing. I was never really drawn to that.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm quite also like I'm quite heavily anti gambling. I think that's preying on the lowest instincts, especially of young men that are more susceptible uh, to being seduced by this kind of vision of grand prize or whatever
Yeah.
they put in front of you. And so I'm not in favor of banning it like altogether. uh, nothing like that. However, I think constraining it to those uh, legal physical establishments is a better idea of not having it always in your pocket, being tempted by all that. So that's probably where I would stand on that. I'll be in favor of quite heavy regulation on those online sites and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you there. I think that the more people that are gambling, the worse. Especially with especially with casinos, because those um those establishments always kind of rig the odds towards the house. And I, gambling wouldn't be so bad if it truly was a fair thing. But a lot of times, I mean, even if a casino has a 51% chance of winning versus a 49% chance of winning, um, they still make out in the end, and they still prey on those who are vulnerable to it, which I disagree with. I don't think that people should I don't think that sort of addiction should be um, so easily uh, established and also preyed upon.
Yeah, yeah. So similar here. Similar here. Not huge fans. Haven't been to Vegas, so I
No,
don't know what real gambling is.
I think that Vegas is a little bit like Dubai in that it's like a shell of a city. It's only there to bring in people to spend money, and I mean that's how a lot of cities are. I mean that's how Thailand was. Thailand's economy
Mhm.
is based on tourism. People come in, they spend their money, and blah blah blah. But I don't know. I think it's especially harmful with respect to gambling, but also Vegas itself is just kind of a. I mean, no shade to Vegas. Any people from Vegas who are watching, no shade to you, but I mean, the idea of prostitution being legal and gambling being legal and accessible, it's just it's pure degeneracy, and I don't really stand for that, I guess.
Never.
Never.
Never, never. Let me switch that a bit now, because I've had a real interesting conversation with a guy from Poland that's been on a 2 week trip to China.
Mhm.
And as you've mentioned, Vegas, they've got their equivalent of Vegas that's called Macau,
Mhm.
where they pretty much abolished all the laws are that they have to obey in all of China. There is this special district called Macau, where gambling is legal, and I think all sorts of degeneracies are also legal. So that's the first thing, but that's not nearly the most interesting fact about his trip. So first of all, he's been quite heavily propagandized by this trip. The stuff that he's been saying back to me about, for example, about Taiwan, quite concerning. But
Really?
let me skip to the real meat of this whole situation. He says that in pretty much all of China, the main narrative that people believe is that COVID came from the United States.
Really?
Yes, they
Interesting.
just believe, and there is like 1.4 trillion fucking
Billion.
however many people in China, so many, and they just believe an inverse of what we in the West believe about COVID, like a totally different version of that. So, so how about that? What can
That's
you say
so
to that?
interesting. Well,
Yeah.
it's always been an East versus West sort of thing, especially during like the McCarthy era, when we made enemies of any country that was trying to engage in communism. Um, that said, uh, I think China does a lot of great things. I think that them working on their hydroelectric plants. I think I might have mentioned this last week, but they engage in a lot of things for the people to increase their quality of life, which the U.S. does to some capacity here, and the West as a whole does that as well. But I don't know. each state has made an enemy of each other, and I don't think it's necessary. I don't think any side is correct. I think it's all kind of fuzzy. There's so much propaganda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this aspect of the West being at, I don't want to call it at war, in conflict with the East. That's like well known. The Cold War between the United States and China for being the greatest superpower. We all know that, and that's also interesting. But for me, too broad of a subject to have any kind of substantial like discussion on that.
Yeah,
So let's just focus on this. That would it be called like media aspect, the shared narrative aspect? I don't know even how to call it, but if we zoom in just on that, it really makes you think that you are living in the matrix, that
yeah,
the stuff that you believe is just the consequence of whatever you were born in, whatever sort of, let's call it, propaganda you've been a subject of. Mm, it really puts into question a lot of the fundamental beliefs that we've got going on, we've got
absolutely.
going on here. If Yeah, quite scary stuff also.
Yeah, I mean, so we know in the US that China has controlled media. Like they only see what their government allows them to see. And we think in the US we have free media. Like, we have access to all of the information. So we're able to make informed decisions about what's actually going on. But that might not necessarily be the case. But at the end of the day, I think perception really is reality. So, like, if you live in a place and, the media says a certain thing, and that's what's like viewable to you, and, whatever you're seeing, you truly believe, then I mean, it might not actually matter what the reality of it is because you're living in your reality. You know what I mean?
I do. I do. Yeah. Yeah. Just the fact that it's the actual opposite, that it's not like those two versions
Yeah,
converge somewhere on a shared, that there somewhere reality actually matters, because the fact is that COVID came from somewhere. Let's not establish whether it was one side or the other, but the COVID came from somewhere. And the fact that those two narratives are like
so different.
mutually exclusive,
Yeah,
they just, so it's like it really makes you think whether this stuff that we are being fed has any basis in the reality, especially in the light of recent developments with the Epstein files, which totally can crushed my mind, which is another huge subject, which mm, I'm not gonna lie, I'm quite interested in what's going on there.
yeah,
It's an interesting example of the conspiracy theory, or something that's been labeled conspiracy theory for such a long time, just has been really enough, at least, to be voted on in the United States Congress. So it really speaks to something. And yeah, I don't know whether you've seen all those like released acts that are
yeah.
redacted.
What's super
Uh,
interesting is to view the human error in releasing the files. So the Trump administration released, the Epstein files, and they missed certain things. Like they had a picture of like a like a crescenda, I guess, like a little table, with a bunch of like pictures on it. And if you zoom in on the pictures, you could see a picture of like Trump with like a bunch of ladies. And they released that particular photo as well, but they redacted everyone. Um, but if you look at the picture, like within the picture of, the crescenda, you'll see the faces that aren't redacted. And so they went in and they, unreleased the photos basically. So it's interesting to see that, they went through, they released what they thought was good, they got called on it, and then they took it back.
mhm,
It's
mhm.
it it really shows like a level of uh, shadiness. It builds a lot of distrust in the government, which I think is has been building for decades now.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, the amount of elites that are captured in those photos, from Michael Jackson to Bill
Yeah,
Clinton, which appears repeatedly, like a lot in those. There is Bill Clinton, there is Stephen Hawking, there is Bill Gates, there is this really famous writer who's very, very old right now, like a hero of the left, whatever he's called. Doesn't matter. Just a lot of them, and it makes you wonder, like, are to what extent were they involved in this kind of activity? Uh, yeah, what so many questions, and like, mm, to each their own. Like, anyone who are gonna ask is gonna be familiar with, like, a different segment of the Epstein file,
yeah.
conspiracy and all that, and you're gonna hear different stories. So, mm, I don't know, even know what's the way forward here. Like, what can you do being in control of those files?
I mean, I don't know. I'm if I'm being totally honest, I'm like it might sound kind of like lame, but I'm like scared to actually make a statement about it, like a real statement, because I have. I mean, call me paranoid, but everything that you put onto the internet is tabbed. Like the Oracle and Palantir are keeping a tab on you. At least that's what I think, and I'm scared to. All right, there's I have a friend who has a friend who wrote an article about like Palestine. I think I might have told you this, but she's
No,
an
I don't
international
know.
student, and so she asked the publication to take her name off of it because she didn't want to be deported. Because if the government saw that she wrote anything related to Gaza or Palestine or Israel, then she would be deported. That said, the government keeps tabs on you, and if you say something they don't like, then who knows what will happen? I don't know. I mean, as an American citizen, I would hope that I'm more protected, but you see videos of Trump talking about censoring speech. I mean, and he literally said, like in quotes, we're taking away the First Amendment. And of course, there is context there, but that said, it's a scary thing to hear the president of the United States say, especially when the executive branch is, gaining more and more power. So frankly, it's like I think, and I'm not saying I'm calling for a revolution by any means, but that said, if you on a podcast, if you say, oh, we need to stand up as people and rebel against the corrupt government, like you, I do think it's likely that you could see some repercussions.
Mhm. The Ni Fuentes situation situation. His whole persona really comes to mind when you were talking about making provocative statements
Yeah, but he never calls for
against.
action. He never endorses people to go and do X, Y, or Z, which really would be the solution to certain issues.
That's actually a very insightful thing to say. I didn't really think about it, but he may be very careful to crack jokes, make those racist remarks and all that, and be provocative, but never incite violence, or say anything that could be interpreted as mm, a provocation towards any kind of action. Yeah, that may be true. So as long as we talk, as long as we stay in the space of ideas, I
Yeah,
think
an
we're safe
abstract.
in the
Yeah,
abstract. Yeah, as long as we don't. Yeah, it's kind of scary stuff. I'm certainly not as, I don't want to. I don't even know if it's fair to call you paranoid about this. Uh, about the Palantir and Oracle keeping the database and listening to all that. I don't think about that as much, if I'm being honest. But it is quite scary, this crackdown on kind of freedom of expression when it comes to the situation that you've described with the person talking about, um, writing an article about Palestine. Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So that's quite scary and straight from the authoritarian playbook. There is something that I came across quite recently. Someone said that in every country there is stuff that you cannot talk about, including the US. And you may know what am I referring to in the US, what's taboo in media, and who you can't criticize, that openly and overtly, uh, which uh, which I think is a change that happened throughout. I don't know how many years, quite hard for me to pinpoint, but am I right to call it some kind of a change towards the worse, maybe?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think more people are openly talking about certain things now. Um, but that said, no one really comes up with uh, actionable solutions. And those actionable solutions, maybe they are put out there by people, but and maybe they are, quickly silenced. Because I haven't seen anyone talking about creating real change besides trying to use like local government. But local government can easily be bought out, crushed, or silenced by bigger government.
hmm Not offering solutions is something that Tucker Carlson is an expert in. He's always talking about, like, kind of complaining about some stuff that's happening, creating a publication around it, whilst not giving any solutions at all, just spreading in anger, outrage,
Yeah.
whatever, while never being the person that comes forward with, okay, so let's do that. We can pull this lever on this level, or pull this lever on this level of government. We can do that. Never such a thing. And there's a lot of guys like him. He's just the most vocal and the one that comes to mind, mo- most easily for me.
Yeah, well, that's what
But I
these like news
totally agree.
publications do. Like Fox News. I mean, people will watch Fox News and just get like angry all day. And the same with CNN. And the only solution that they could come up with is, all right, let's go protest in the streets. But at the end of the day, protesting isn't going to work when all the politicians are bought out. You know what I mean? It's there's no real solution that you can talk about.
Man, we are in quite a deep rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
We went quite deep with all that, which is fair. Why not? Why not do that sometimes? Uh, I mean, yeah. As with regards to Fox News, I've listened to some Tim Dillon lately. You know Tim Dillon?
Mm-mm.
Not really? No.
No.
It's like a Rogan Sphere guy. Really, really like him. He's mentioned the act of blowing up boats continuously on the Caribbean by like the Trump administration, that they've been blowing up these boats, and he made a really interesting point on that, and he called it performative cruelty. That when everything's going to shit, and there is like Epstein files, and if you're the president of the United States, and you're not even the president, the whole administration, you've got 1,000 things on your mind, and like so many of them are going wrong. You gotta create some distractions, and blowing up a boat in the middle of the Caribbean is like the perfect scenario for that. You can put that on Fox News,
Yeah.
people will be glad that their government is functional, it performed some kind of an action. They cannot be losers that uh, that are incapable of improving our lives. Look at this boat being blown the fuck up. Uh, yeah, so I thought that's an interesting point, and the U.S. government probably does that on a larger scale than other governments, but any government would be, I think, complicit in this kind of an action on a different scale.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's the same thing as like the Titan submersible. Like they knew that. I remember that it was like 3 summers ago, I believe. There was like all the millionaires went to this like little handmade or little like makeshift submarine to go see the Titanic, and it exploded,
Oh, yeah,
imploded rather. But all right,
yeah.
so they knew that it imploded like relatively quickly, like within like a few hours. They knew that it imploded and everyone was dead. But the news cycle continued with this, like they sensationalized it. They had like oxygen countdown timers, uh and like what's going on with the submersible, like are they lost, blah blah blah. But it's like during that same time Hunter Biden was being investigated by the FBI for I think it was like gun charges and also like doing business with like China and like different things on his laptop or whatever.
Mhm.
But that said, this was like a fabricated story, basically to keep people's eyes off of what was really happening, and that happens all the time on both sides of the aisle. It's it's I don't know. It makes you lose trust in legacy media and honestly media as a whole and the government. It's like, who do I believe? And this ties back to like censored media with like China versus the U.S. It's like, what do you really believe?
But what was it? What I don't know whether I've understood correctly. The mm, the submarine that has imploded with a like a billionaire on its deck. I think, yeah. It was that case?
I'm
The
not sure if
the
he was a billion.
billionaire
He could have been a billionaire, but they were all rich. It
like
was an expensive thing.
rented a submarine to go down to see the Titanic wreck. Yeah,
Yeah,
was it
yeah.
that
So
case?
it was this company. I forget what they were called. This company, but they basically made makeshift submarines, and
Yeah,
um,
and I think they used like a plane station controller to
yeah,
navigate that ship. It
yeah,
was absolutely comical. This
yeah.
whole situation. Yeah. Okay. And how is that connected to? It was like wasn't there like a real story that came
No, it,
about
it
in the?
it wasn't a real story. Well, it was a real story, sure, but they knew the outcome of the story well before they exposed the outcome of the story. Um,
For
and
real?
they dragged it on for as long as they could before people lost interest, and then on to the next thing, and basically keep people's eyes off of what's happening behind the doors.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Hunter Biden. Talk about that guy.
I
God
actually don't really
damn
know
it,
anything about him. I
bro.
know that he's
He made
like
a,
he
he
was a
made an
crack addict.
appearance on this guy, Channel 5, I think, like an independent journalist.
Oh
And he
yeah.
talked quite coherently, but the charges against this man were like absurd, absolutely. He's had some videos on his phone of putting a gun in a hooker's mouth
Yeah.
while being high on crack, while fucking owing $30 million to the government, while being like that guy. God damn it, that was outstanding. What he, and then he's like, after all those charges, after he's been caught with possessing a gun, he's been on crack like God knows how many times. He makes a statement about mm, being the subject uh, of what of like a political action performed by the Republicans to to capture him and to for it to have an effect on Joe Biden. Yeah, what a, what
A disaster.
a disaster, a disaster for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Although poor Joe Biden has got his fair share of struggles in his personal life. He lost a son very young. He lost like a couple of, God knows. Okay, too deep, too deep down the rabbit hole. They are we? What about the budgeting app? Any any improvements in
You know,
mind?
let me take a look at it. I want to be able to manually input spend into the budgeting app. I think that'd be cool. I can't think of any other ideas. So base 44 will give you different suggestions. Like over here, it says suggestions, smart budgeting forecasting, reoccurring transactions management, advanced spending alerts. So these are all things that presumably could be put into the app. And who knows, maybe those are things that I implement and create like a freemium version of the app so I could actually monetize it. But I would need to look at the competition and see who's doing what, see what sort of features they're missing. But also, I know that putting apps into the App Store costs money, so I'm not sure how much that costs.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you answered quite coherently about. Okay, I think we can
Yeah,
like wrap the recording part
yeah.
here.
And we had some good conversation. I mean, hopefully we don't get flagged by our respective governments.
Yes, and hopefully Palantir wasn't listening too closely today.
I love you, Peter Thiel. I love you, Larry Ellison. Who else do I love?
Yes.
JD Vance.
JD Vance, yeah, for the future. We love JD. We love JD.
Yeah, I guess that concludes that.
That concludes that.
Right.
Yeah.
Any parting
Thank
thoughts?
you, everyone. No, I've heard absolutely everything that was on my mind.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, peace out, YouTube. We'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.